Okay, good morning. Everybody read the case study?
Yes.
Yes, very good. Very good. So today, I want to start this case study showing you some slides. We will study the Lamata case study. And I always want to put faces to the story that we're telling, because these are real cases. So here we have the stars of this story. And don't look at your handouts. So who tell me who is Governor Tinubu? Who looks like Governor Tinubu? Is it him? Exactly. And who do you think is Governor Fashola, who wants to be the next president of Nigeria? Him again? No, look at him. He's ready for the picture. Ready to take possession of power. And, of course, this is our hero of today, Dayo. So you were right. These are our three stars of today's story. And we give this case in many cities of the world. I think most of you are very familiar about Lagos, but people from Latin America, they don't know very well where the setting of what we were talking about. So it's, of course, here, and you have part of land, part of water, so that it's a challenge for the transportation system. And it's a city of 50 million inhabitants, and this is very important, growing at 6% per year. That's quite amazing. Quite amazing and quite a challenge. So when we go to Lagos and we're in the plane, we see a very orderly city. Here, from away, it's a center of excellence. But when we go further down to the streets, then we see that here the Economist said that Lagos was ranked third least habitable place on Earth. So look at these. Remember the Danfos. Here's another really good picture. This is where we're starting from. Quite a challenging situation that many of your cities also face. Here we have the Danfos, people everywhere, just a few cars. So you can imagine the great challenge that Dayo had when he started. And what did he do? Well, BRT Light. Compare this situation with this. And here, thanks to our good friend Sam, we can show you what Dayo really did ordering the transport system. People in line, very good shelters here, orderly traffic. So this is quite a feat. When you pass from this to this, it's a huge, huge feat that he did. Today's case study, as you can see in your program, each case study is allotted to a certain theme. And today's theme is governance. Who can tell me what governance is? Volunteers. Don't look at your handouts. What is governance? You live this every day. Any hint? What is governance good for? What does it do?
The ability to cope with the problems and to find solutions and to implement them.
Exactly.
It's governance, and to have the consent of other actors, agencies.
Exactly.
To be on board.
Managing a mission.
Exactly.
Help of people. Making them as a stakeholder and managing it efficiently for their benefit.
Exactly. So you've between you two, you have given the key elements of what we mean by governance. And according to the Royal Spanish Academy, this is one definition of governance. There are many, but it's an art, the art of governing that has as objective a long-lasting economic, social, and institutional development, promoting a healthy equilibrium between the state, civil society, and the economy. So here we have the elements of getting things done, incorporating the people, having benefits. This is governance. And this is what we're going to talk today about. And we're going to do it within a framework that I think will be very useful for your daily work. And this framework was designed by a Harvard professor, Mark Moore, where he designed this policy space or strategic triangle, where this is why we're doing things. We're creating public value. What is public value? Any ideas? You're shy today. You're shy today. Last day. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Well, in very simple terms, it's services to citizens which have value to them, which let you reach a social purpose. That's in very simple terms what you're working every day for. And how do you do that? You need an external, authorizing, enabling environment. You need legitimacy and support. That's from the outside. What do you need in the inside of your internal organization? Well, you need to be able to do things. You need to be capable of operating. So we'll analyze this case in these three parts of the triangle, where we will see what Lamata, what public value was created, what were the legitimacy and support that gave authority to Lamata, and how was the internal capabilities to do that. So let's start. Okay, who can tell me the public value that Lamata, and in this case specifically Dayo, helped create? Sorry?
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Can you repeat?
Got repeat. What was the public value? What were the public values that Dayo and Lamata created for Lagos?
Lamata created for the people of the Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
Participation was public values they created
Yes.
by making a transportation system.
Right.
But I think improving road conditions is
Improving road conditions. Okay. And why is that important?
Public good actually, not public good. It's good.
Why is improving roads important in this situation?
increases speed and safety. But also to show a quick win into the process of generating more change in the last sector.
And why is having a quick win, especially in this case, particularly important?
To empower the agency, the metropolitan agency, in order to show the people that the metropolitan agency can work, and then to have more power when they have to renegotiate with the bad system, the new bad system.
And that's a very important point. And in the context of all the other public values that he created, why was it so important to have a quick win? Was this a short-term institution that was set up?
To put an end to
Sorry?
He was there for only 8 years, so we have
So
to
it was
showcase something.
it was only,
Dayo is still here. It's still in Lamata.
It's to
it
show
was
that
only
things were
doable.
changing.
Okay.
It was only doable at the shortest period of time for political gain.
No, that's
People, you can kind of build confidence by doing some good things. So do good things which are doable and quantifiable in a short terms of time. Then that's why it's the easiest thing to make road. Later
Right.
on, you can build transportation system.
So that later on, how was that? That's another public value. What was the later on that the public value that Dayo and Lamata created? Yes.
This case study, he designed a long-term strategy.
Exactly.
But there are four components. That is to reorganize the system, transportation investment. Secondly, he developed the BRT line. Number three,
We will get to that later.
yes.
So he was not, Lamata was not created just to repair these dedicated roads, right? It was dedicated to organizing the whole system, have a long-term strategy, many, many years. But if you devise this plan and say to your minister or to the governor, can you please wait 10 years and later I will start to deliver? Is that feasible or no? Of course not. You're fired at that minute. You need to show results. You need to empower your institution. You need to show your people that you're you're doing things. This momentum of getting people enthusiastic about what they're doing and showing both internally and externally that this is working, that's really, really important. And for those of you that work in government, this is a crucial point. So having this early win, this quick win of showing that after him, in a very short time, conditions, physical conditions that everybody can see, improved, that was a really important point, and very clever of him. So that's the first public value. The second public value is this long-term vision, strategy, plan, to show everybody this is the way we're going. And that's a public value. What else? You mentioned something. The BRT. And these were of two kinds, right? Who can tell me the two kinds?
And they provided a separate lane for the other, and some places it was mixed with it.
Exactly. These are the two. And how did these BRT function? Were they a success? Were they a failure? Why? Why?
There was no,
Nope. Go ahead.
no organized public transport earlier, and since the people were getting organized public transport sufficient frequency in good time, and it was comfortable, so people were using it, and the ridership was more than estimated.
Also,
So the gains were high.
yes, and the demand was so big that capital expenditure was very easy to repay, and they also can buy even more buses to add to the fleets, and they expected 60,000 passengers, and they received like 160,000.
Exactly. For what group was this particularly important, that they could repay
For the companies.
for the companies, the operators, because they had problems, before they had problems to get the banks to finance their fleets, right?
Yes.
So this is another very intelligent win. And how about for because remember there were two BRT systems. One was negotiated with the operators, the owners, and the other one
With the workers, the one that was.
with the drivers.
The unions driver.
And how did this system work for the drivers?
It worked okay, but
Why?
because it was safer for the drivers also, like for their jobs.
Mhm.
So it was good for them. Although they had a problem of time delivery because another institution was in charge of
Right.
the public works. So the first one, I think it was very good because it was delivering time and everything was very well planned, including the buying of the bus.
And how are the costs of that?
They were
They
very
were cheaper.
cheaper, like 110.
Than standard BRTs. I mean, the input cost was very low.
Right. So we will come to this point later. Remind me of this
And
aspect
also
later.
this creates an idea in the population that people start demanding more BRT corridors in other areas of the city.
Very good point. So was this a public value or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's valued by the people because what he did is a service that improved their lives. So it was definitely a public value. Definitely. So, but there was another public value that permitted everything, permitted all this. What gave him the legal, I'm obviously hinting you, the legal power to do this?
It was a law that
A law.
protected Lamata.
A law. Exactly. That's very important. This was a coordination law. And what was particularly interesting about this law in terms of the governance of who did Lamata respond to? Was it the same? It was the same structure that used in the other ministries and agencies, or was it different?
It was different.
In what
The
sense?
board of directors, and they could also hire good people because they could pay more.
We will come to that point later. But you said the board of directors. Who did the board of directors report to?
To the government.
To the governor. Not to the minister, but directly to the governor. So that was a really wise move by Dayo, where he didn't have intermediaries. He went directly to the boss. So that was very intelligent of him. And who participated in this board of directors? Ministers? Yes. Operators? Unions? Exactly. So what does that mean in terms of your legitimacy?
All the stakeholders are in the board of the.
Exactly. What happens when you do your projects and you only work with one group and you push ahead and you don't take into consideration the others? What happens?
You face opposition.
Yeah, there's a very high chance that you will not succeed. But again, he was really wise to have in this board of directors everybody that mattered, including the citizen groups, including the drivers, the operators, the ministries. So when a decision was made, then that was the way to go, and no further discussion. So that was really wise. So that's again a very important public value. And we can mention one other public value that relates to what Sam, hi Opi, relates to what Sam mentioned in his presentation of this probability of doing some corridors or whatever that maybe don't have the highest ridership, but it's the feasible ones.
They selected 2 corridors.
I touched upon that on the BRTs, but there was another infrastructure work that he did that also showed you how clever Dayo was. From here, you haven't said. We will get to that later. Remind me of that point. Physical infrastructure.
We talk about the ferry system. That's primarily DRT. The government also developed ferry.
That was a bit later. But there was the red line and the blue line, remember? And what line had the highest ridership? Red line. And what line did they construct? Why?
Because with the red one, they had to arrive to a kind of agreement with the federal government, and there was some good relations.
That was a mess, right? That was a mess.
Happens everywhere.
So he was well aware of which one was maybe the one with the highest economic return, but he was more aware of which one was he really able to deliver, and he went for the blue line. So that's exactly what Sam was saying, and that's an important lesson also. What can you do when you have several options? Which one do you choose? Again, the alternatives analysis, which has to incorporate all these elements. So let's judge how Dayo performed in this creation of public values. What is your take? What is your opinion? Did he do it well? He did so-so? Bad?
I think one more very important that he also studied the flood for transportation.
He started the what, sorry?
He studied the Sangwas floods. And to get the money for the transportation. Very important about financial.
Actually, remind me of that point because we will touch upon in the next chapter of this story, the fund. So I think the general consensus is that he did quite well. Let's go to the second part of this story. Sorry, this is. The internal part. He wanted to create all these public values, but you cannot do that in the air. You need capacity to do that. Now we'll touch upon the internal capacity. Who can tell me what are the main elements that permitted Daya to do all this?
To have the freedom to hire the most prepared professionals and to pay like international wages, not the regular wages maybe the government was paying at that time.
Exactly.
And
Why could he do that?
Because of the law that creates.
Because of the law. Exactly. Exactly. How was the usual thing of doing things there? The team. It's an important point. So he could do it because of this law. And it was not by merit, I mean, not by connections, as was usual, but by merit. And he hired some world-class people. And how were the salaries?
They were world
High.
class.
Very high. Compared with the private sector.
And compared to the other ministries, how was it? Higher. So that's one of the main points that why he could do this and get the best people. So it was several times the salaries of their counterparts in the ministries. So how do you think the other officials from the other ministries looked at Lamata? Maybe. Maybe they were not that happy. And they saw, as you said before, that they had constructed this BRT at a fraction of the cost and repaired the road at a fraction of the cost. They were delivering on time. They were higher paid. So we will get to this point later, but this is part of the story. Set a new standard, exactly. Before, who said funds? You said. So tell me a bit about the fund that he created, and why is that important for this?
So I think in the past, they never had a budget for the conservation development. So now the government primarily to the development, the best people, they also need financial.
How was this fund? Was it the usual whatever line in the budgets approved by Parliament that says Lamata you have whatever $6 million and next year again you have to do things, or how was it?
It was connected to car registration.
Car registry. So is that a stable or an unstable source of funds?
Not very stable.
Not very stable. Are you sure? Why?
Well, amount cannot be quantified, depends upon, but more registered vehicle, more money.
It is at 50%.
Yeah, 50%. But I still don't understand why it's not stable. I mean, you can have fluctuations,
Yeah.
but in time,
In
will
time,
people
it can
stop buying
accumulate.
cars next year? Nobody buys cars. So nobody registers cars.
Gradually it may go down, but it's not very well fixed.
Actually, what happens is the contrary.
Increase.
Yeah,
You buy more cars.
yeah, but people get wealthier and they start buying more cars, and so you have more registrations.
But that's later on stage. That's a later. Fund was created after everything was already on grounded. It doesn't before that. The entire structure came on somebody else's fund. 50% of the motor vehicle registration and license fee collected by the motor vehicle agency came to Lamata.
And how was the amounts compared to their costs?
And share of the fee amounted to 5-6 million per year, which was approximately 2 million was needed for Lamata.
So it's pretty good, huh? Pretty good. And what was the
One third.
what was the political setting in which this occurred? What was happening with the governor?
It was changing.
He was changing.
It was changed.
And when you have this very close relationship with the governor who told you, okay, Dayo, do the Lamata, and
He secured an amount of money.
exactly,
Here.
because you could have another governor that says, let's ditch everything and no, let's not continue.
The money to run the
But you have the money, you have stable funds to do your public value, which is the long-term plan. So this is very important for your enabling internal environment. What other sources of funds did Lamata have?
That is the registration and license fee. You asked about where the fund from?
Yeah. So we already said this special fund that came from vehicle registration fees. But what other sources of funds did? From the World Bank. Those people sitting down there, they have the big wallets. Yeah, Ajay Kumar, he gave the $100 million or more.
So we had to talk with him.
You have to talk with him.
Personal check.
Personal check, exactly. Personal check. And this was in two phases, right? LUTP 1, LUTP 2. And the acronym is the same as this. This guy. But what happens with the World Bank funds, which is very distinct from this fund? Right. 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 It's maybe it's a one-time or two-time fund, but if you need to develop your long-term plan, you need a more stable source of funds. I'm not saying that the World Bank funds are not enough or not good, but they are not for the long term. I mean, countries cannot rely on external aid to do their projects indefinitely. They're a good starter, they're a good way to get things going, but you need a more sustainable source. And maybe they had other sources. So, again, let's put a grade on Dayo. How did he perform here in his internal operational capabilities? Come on, you haven't, this side hasn't said hardly anything.
Good boss.
He's a good boss. Why is he a good boss? How was his team? Was his team happy, unhappy, challenged, not challenged, bored? How was his team? How do you see the Lamata team working?
Mentioned about the state ministry, but I'm not sure if the government, central government ministry or the ministry of the city, because I don't know about the structure of the.
But apart from the structure, imagine, put yourself in the offices of Lamata. How do you see that team working?
He needs the governor, needs some people also support him, but anyway, that is the most important, like the Penaloga, Colombia, he has an enthusiasm to commit with the BRC. That he will force the people to
It must be the
yeah.
best team in the whole country because they were successful, they hired the best professionals, they paid the best salaries in the local market, and comparable with international. Yeah, the results of the
So what's the bottom line of that? You have a committed team.
yes.
Committed team to do great things, right?
Also, maybe a hated team by other agencies because
Right? We
the
will.
others will say, I want the same money and the same power,
Yeah,
and I
that's
will
what-
do exactly the same. Freedom from bureaucratic. Typical bureaucratic.
Right. When you have a typically bureaucratic team, you do typically bureaucratic projects,
Yeah.
which are pretty dull, right? But when you want to change the transport system of a city, from what we saw, you came late, but we saw some slides comparing the before and after. When you want to do that, you cannot afford to have a typical bureaucratic team. You need a first-class team. And you need to give that team a vision, you need to give them a long-term plan, and you need to give them the resources to do that. Empower them. Have a champion, have a leader. And that's Dayo. So I think that again, we have a very good check here. Remember, we saw this triangle, the three parts of the triangle. What was the third part? Exactly. No, that operation capability is the second one, the third one. This is what you want to do. This is the internal capabilities of how you will do that permits you to do that. Is that enough? And what's that? That's the external part, right? So here, to be able to organize the discussion, we need to know who were the actors, the stakeholders, the interested parties, what were their motivations, who was against, who was in favor, what was happening between this friction. So who wants to shoot first? What were the actors of this story, the external actors? Okay. Why are they important? Before they were controlling everything, right? And what happened?
Now they have made a part of Lamata and they are cooperating. Similarly, the Drivers Guild is also cooperating these people.
That's another group. So, to make it parallel with what we saw on Wednesday, both two incumbent groups, both drivers and operators, were made part of the process. That the process was made with them and not against them. What would have happened in Lagos if he said, forget about the local operators, we will only have contracts with the Veolias, the whatever, international transport companies, and let's forget about our locals. What would have happened with this really nice plan that he had, and he had made such a team?
He was going to
Afraid.
Why?
Maybe strikes, people in the streets, everything.
Yes, you know, pickets in all the streets.
Exactly. Has that happened in your countries?
No.
Yeah, we have
No, are you
pickets
sure?
every day, like every day, but not by the
No,
Every
I
day.
will work with the bus operators to prevent that.
Okay.
All stakeholders should be on board.
That's exactly the point, and is maybe one of the most difficult ones to really do in practice, because that's you have to negotiate.
Conflicting interests.
You have conflicting interests, but it's worth it. It's worth going that extra mile to have all the key people, key stakeholders on board, because all your project may just go to the garbage because you didn't consider the interests of some key stakeholders that were supposed to be part of it. So we've mentioned the bus operators, the drivers, other key stakeholders.
Representative of public were also taken.
Okay, yeah, yes. But more than the representatives of the public, I mean the users. I mean the users. Remember what we said on Wednesday? Why are you doing this? Why are you working in your jobs every day? Because of them. You have to keep them in your focus, or else you can make some really bad mistakes. The users, never forget them. The government. Who is the government in this case? Remember, we're not talking about the whole country, but rather of a state. So who is the government? Names. Ministry, but let's the government. So the governor, right? Tinubu. And who else? What's the other governor? Tinubu and who wants to be president of Nigeria? Fashola. So, what was Tinubu interested in? What was his vision? What did he want to achieve during his government? Sorry?
He wanted to make a mark, leave legacy behind in 8 years. And so, what should you ask?
No. There are no right or wrong answers. What I'm trying to do. Yeah. No. What I'm trying to do is that when you make an analysis of your stakeholders, you have to have very clear what are their motivations, their interests. Because if you're not aware of that, then you'll commit some very serious mistakes. So what was Governor Tinubu worried about? What did he want to achieve during his government?
You wanted to remove congestion
Okay, remove congestion, but
and the solid
And
waste.
also the solid waste.
exactly. So two purposes. So Lamata will help him in one, in a very important way, right? And Fashola, what does he want?
wanted to create of Laos mega city for Africa.
Exactly.
Improving all public services and urban development.
Exactly. So that's the focus. So if you are working for Tinubu and Fashola, you need to have that in mind because that's what you have to deliver. And of course, what does every politician want to achieve? Votes, elections. So how do you get those votes? Performing, right? Keep your citizens happy. You promised you'll reform the public transportation, and thanks to Dayo, you delivered. So people will be happy and they will re-elect you, if there's a re-election possible. But at least your party will be re-elected. So that's always key. Why are they? What is their objective? And how can you, as government officials, support that objective? If everybody's happy, then things work. If not, you're out.
Another hero is World Bank.
Okay. Yeah, I would.
Many
Yeah, it's an important actor here. Yeah, because what did the World Bank promote from many years before? They promoted the Metropolitan Transport Authority. They gave funds. So yes, it was an important actor. What actors are we missing here? Oh, okay. So you said creditors, the bus manufacturers. But there are other important actors that you haven't named. Other government agents. What are those other government agents? Transport and? Exactly. Who can tell me what their objectives, their interests are?
Repair of the road construction of road was assigned to this public works department, and this work is being done by the Lamata. That's why they were against these people.
So when you are creating a new institutional framework over an existing one, where you have a Ministry of Transport, a Ministry of Public Works that had these faculties, and you create this new one that superimposes, what happens?
They will resent it, and they will try to sabotage your project.
Did you hear that?
Definitely they will sabotage, or they will create hurdles in your work.
And did they create hurdles or no?
Definitely they created.
Why? Give me an example.
This log bus is also one of the problems they created in between.
Tell me a bit more about like this.
And the log bus they created because they were taking the buses from a private company, Indian private company, that too at a rate of say 60,000 lira. Now they are giving a bus in 1.67 lakh lira. This means approximately three times they are delivering, and even then they fail to deliver.
Actually, it was not the ministries, but rather the new governor that had some electoral interest there.
The governor was involved with these people.
But what happened with, for example, somebody mentioned here, you mentioned that for one of the BRTs, it wasn't Lamata was in charge of constructing, but rather the ministry. What happened there?
They didn't finish on time, so they had to start the project, the line without.
Exactly.
They had problems for
It took years.
the operators.
Yeah.
With what they were supposed to.
Right. So when you develop this project and you have these partners, and one of your partners is not working, you have problems. Because people on the street don't say, oh, this is responsibility of Dayo and Lamata. This is responsibility of Ministry of Transport. No, they say the government is failing. They're not doing their job. This is all is bad, and we will go on strike, and we will protest, and we will throw stones.
There was also a problem of a specific identification of responsibility. Because
That's a very good point. Please elaborate.
Lamata was thought to be an executing agency, not a policy agency.
Right.
Which a ministry always thought they are the policy agencies and Lamata is an executing agency. Whereas when the Lamata was established, it was also a policy agency, and they got the work also executed. So it was involved in both. The ministry always was jealous of Lamata in that sense, why policy matter went to them.
Exactly.
So they tried to make a new shortcut way and try to overrule Lamata, and by doing that they also failed at one point. And further they negotiated with another company, got into corruption, as it seems,
Right.
and it was total failure.
Very good point. Very, very good point, which exemplifies what happens, what we were discussing before, that when you superimpose a new structure over an existing one, and you have these not very clear boundaries of who is responsible for what, who's accountable for what, then you start having big problems. So in your daily lives, if you're thinking about a transport authority, that's one point that you will surely have to look at very, very closely, because or else you're going to have all these problems that Dayo had and Lamata had. So relationship with ministries, we saw that it was kind of a lot of conflict there.
There's one thing which I saw there, that the act, the Lamata Act, was quite specific on the network, which the Lamata was supposed to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were forming that act, it seems to not have been very clear that the mandate of the ministries was reduced. So it was just forming this body with this network without reducing the powers of the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Works, without making them clear that their mandate has been reduced on that network. So you have some examples where this maybe creation of the act has been done in such a way that it really informs these ministries that their mandate is going down, or that some of your powers are being transferred to this new authority.
Right.
Do you have some examples?
Oh, it's not me. It's okay. We'll use that as a very good starting point for the discussion. Does anybody have an example of what he just said?
Can you say a little louder?
Okay, what I was saying was the Lamata Act was quite clear on the mandate of Lamata in terms of planning, implementing. So they had like a policy angle, then they had the network, which was specific, already detailed in the act. But what it was doing was it would reduce the effectiveness or reduce on the powers of the ministry, because these are being transferred to Lamata. So what I was asking was, in the preparation of the act, where the ministry is told that their mandate is going to reduce and that your powers are now being transferred to Lamata, and is there an example of a place where this has worked? Because I know we like in Uganda, we are trying to come up with a matter, so some kind of Lamata, and I can see this problem. The ministry knows that the Metropolitan Area Transport Authority is going to take some of their powers. So what they've started doing, they have started recruiting, for example, more policy people, more engineers. But the ministry is supposed, for example, to do only policy. It's not supposed to do to implement. So they want to reduce the powers of matter before it is formed. This is what I'm just trying to say. So I'm looking for good examples of places where this transformation has happened, a bit smoothly.
Anybody want to say something?
When you have to get the job executed properly, this conflict of interest has to be totally wiped out. So when you make an organization where you give, delegate all the powers to get it executed, once a policy decision has been taken, there should not be any intervention. There should not be any kind of, domain area, my control, that kind of philosophy should be.
Let's put names and real situations to this.
Can you give an example?
Sorry?
You wanted an example.
Yeah.
Delhi Metro. Yeah. DMRC is one example. Delhi Metro, there's a case study in this also. Delhi Metro is one example.
Elaborate on
The
that.
champion you were talking about, when you were talking about champion, there was one champion called Sridharan. His name is Sridharan. When he took over in DMRC, authority all pervaded. He could literally perform a magic here. In spite of Delhi being this capital city of India, all the power centers are there. Still he could overrule all the power centers. His organization delivered it finally. I think it can be done.
Yeah, but it's structurally Sir, Mr. Sridharan got it done because he was given the authority to do that. But the same vagueness of the power was still there. The moment Sridharan went away, present boss is not as powerful, as forceful as Mr. Sridharan was. So now ministry will be having more intervention on day-to-day operational matters also. So in the long term, it becomes individual specific. It's like a good manager, you got a good CEO who can have a direct access to the Prime Minister. He can get the job done. But structurally, the problem remains the same. So they have to think of a structural solution for one project specific. So statutory power is more important than individual power. Individual comes and goes. But the statutory or the act or the enactment, that gives the strength to any solution, any situation.
Thank you. Any other comments? In your daily lives, who can relate an experience of what we covered today, where you created public values, you created your internal support, and you aligned your external actors to do things? Who can share something? Come on, don't be shy.
So talking about the unclear responsibility, so in Vietnam we have Ministry of Construction and Ministry of Transport. So for Ministry of Construction, they are responsible for the urban infrastructure, urban transport infrastructure, and for the general master plan. But for the transport, they are responsible for transport master plan. And then transport issue. So, the responsibility is unclear. So for any project, we need to submit to both ministries to get, the review, appraisal, and approval. And, sometimes the two ministries, provide different comments. So it's quite difficult for, for the project to proceed.
Thank you. Who else?
I think yes, we talk about, I think the most critical problem in the development transportation system, even in this case study, is the unclear responsibility and not good cooperation between relation agency, relation authority. And the solution here, I think, because there are two things happen. One is not clear about responsibility and function. Sometimes they are not clear, sometimes they overlap. And secondly, the decision-making time sometimes take a long time because that's go around the system. No the key decision maker. So I think we can learn the experience in Korea when they, yesterday we talked about, Dr. Kim talked about the reform, the transportation system in Korea in Seoul. And the key actor, they established the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. And this group men directly belong to the mayor, to the president, and they work every day. Directly working the report to them, and this is an integrated approach. They combine many development relation agency, minister, and they working together in order to integrated approach and to solve the time for the decision maker. In Singapore, I see the same. They have one special agency for transportation reform. So in Lagos, we had the Lamata. That's also what is involved, how all the people come together and directly report to the governor in Lagos in order they save more time in the decision maker and also concentration in the same direction. So I think the solution here is we need good team, the leadership strongly and interacting together in one team. Solution.
Thank you. Yes.
So as far as ministry is concerned, if they would have worked, they would have done earlier also, and they could not give any result. This is the reason Lamata was created, especially the Ministry of Public Works. They failed to even complete even a single project. If they are interfering for the supremacy, not for to give the result to the public. So my opinion is there that we should encourage the Lamata, and the governor should only listen to them.
But, okay, but we already left that discussion, and now we are sharing experiences of how these three pillars have worked in your case. For example, tell us an experience that you have had.
This is what I am telling, that we as a general public, or for the benefit of the general public of Laos, we should go for this thing. Lamata should be encouraged for the given the powers to do the work, instead of interference of the ministry. This is my opinion on this issue.
Okay.
They should be given the power.
Okay. Who else? In the Philippines.
I think we've heard it all.
I think institutionally, we're also quite segmented. Like Vietnam, we have a different transport industry and we have a different public works industry. So, and each of them actually also do master planning, which is not normally really in conjunction with each other. But to complicate things, we have a traffic coordination committee and the LGUs. So they also want to do transport. Actually, I don't think they're contented with just doing traffic. And we also have our National Economic Development Authority, which also does some master planning. So I think integration, as I said when we talked about Manila, is really very important at this point. And that's one of the things that we love.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, for Kenya, we don't have a metropolitan transport authority. What we have is we have different agencies. We have the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure. The Minister of Transport is in charge of policy. The infrastructure side, there are roads. We have two authorities within Nairobi doing we have the National Highway Authority and the National Urban Transport Authority. We also used to have a Ministry of Nairobi Metropolitan doing some roads. We have Kenya Railways doing the commuter rail, and all these agencies do. There is no coordinating authority. So
What do you plan to do?
we plan to, what happened 3 weeks ago is that there was a committee, a working group that was formed to come try and harmonize all these activities towards establishing an Nairobi Metropolitan Transport Authority.
Thank you. Well, to wrap up, I think the key messages of this case study are quite clear. You have to have very clear why are you doing things. You're creating public values where you have them as your focus. But you need both things. Both in your internal front, you need to be able to do things, and for that, you need a good team, you need good funding, you need a support. But you also need to align your external actors. Consider who are your stakeholders, what are their interests, how do they relate, how does these three relate, and one of the other key lessons that was mentioned quite a few times is the importance of the champion. Never forget how important the champion can be for a project, big or small. So we will finish the case study here, but before we finish, I want to take just a few minutes. I'm not a transport specialist. I'm an ignorant in transport. My background is in energy. And you have a handout in your table. I'm the leader of the Energy Efficiency Transformation Initiative of the World Bank that we're designing to support cities increase their energy efficiency in the main energy consuming sectors, of which transport is, of course, a very important one. This is a 3-year initiative that we will launch in Barcelona in November 18th in a conference called CitySense. But that's just the starting point. And I want to invite you, if you can go to Barcelona, but more importantly, to engage your cities in this. This is a great opportunity, which there are basically 2 phases. Phase 1 will be a year long. We will have capacity building for your officials in all the key sectors. And on years 2 and 3, we will make a selection of cities and we will get things done. So we will support you with technical assistance for developing bankable projects. We will have a matching with financiers. We will have a matching with cities that are ahead of you so you can learn from your peers. So I invite you to read this and contact me if you or your government officials, typically from your energy departments and from your urban planning departments, but it can also be from transport. We want a more high-level or comprehensive view, but we can start anywhere. So please take a look at this and contact me if you are interested that one of your cities be part of the program. So thank you very much.